So this weekend, obviously what happened is Michigan put a new set of requirements in place. And this literally happened last night. So as of 6 p.m. last night, they decided that we here in Michigan are going to take a little bit of a step back, and that what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of some of our in-person meeting requirements. We're going to get rid of being able to work in the office if we don't have to, and we're going to start limiting activities that are allowed for the next 3 weeks. So technically, the restrictions don't go in place till the 18th, but they're going to go till December. So what this did is it got me thinking a little bit. I gave my whole diatribe last week about, why we need to be happy with Trump gone, what it means to me, what it means to others in America. But the big thing here is, what does COVID mean to everybody, right? We've talked about COVID on the show a lot. We've talked about all these different ideologies and why we understand the science behind it. But one of the big things that a lot of people don't talk about is the numbers. And when they do, everybody just thinks they're so big numbers they can't be real, right? So I felt compelled to have a conversation about COVID and wearing a mask and social distancing. So the first thing I did is I went through and I said, hey, I'm going to look at all the cases that I have going on worldwide, right? And if here we go. And so if we look at this CDC COVID tracker, right? And I put the links in the description if you want to follow along. We can see that the COVID cases have spiked in the U.S., right? The tracker allows us to check by each one of the different states. So you can go to state number 1, state number 2. And then what I was noticing is that some of the more liberal states saw these trends where it would go up and then down real quick, up and then down real quick. But after I kind of went through a lot of them, there wasn't enough evidence to really show that pattern fit only liberal states. Because, for example, in Mississippi, we saw a similar style pattern a little bit. And they're a pretty conservative state, in my opinion, right? So then I decided to look at the actual numbers. So when I looked at the total numbers for the cases, the United States clocks in at 11.18 million cases. The total world cases, and this is what's insane, right, is 54.8 million. We have 20% of the cases that have existed for COVID in the United States. Now, guess what the world population is and what our American population is? The world population is 7.7 billion, and America makes up 331 million. We're not at 33 yet. So 331 million people. So we have 4.3% of the total populace. And as you all know, on statistics, I'm a numbers guy, right? So then I decided, well, what if I look at the total deaths? Do we see a similar, trade that way? The total amount of worldwide deaths for coronavirus is 1.32 million in the United States, or in the world. And the United States holds roughly 247,000 of those. We make up 18.7% of deaths. So, again, let's re-examine that number. Our populace is 4.3% of the world, but we have 20.4% of the coronavirus cases and 18.7% of the deaths. We are literally losing right now. And I could say a couple of other things, but if we move on and say, okay, what if we test more people? Would it be higher? Well, then our deaths would be lower. If we tested more people, we could stop the virus faster. Therefore, by logic would dictate, if our death ratio came in, let's just say at half even of what the case ratio is, I could at least concede that point to conservatives or to Trump. I could do that, but I can't because we're not even 2% down. We're leading the world. So then I said, what's the next closest nation in coronavirus cases? And the next closest nation is India. They come in at 16% of total cases. And they have 1.39 billion people in their country. They make up 17.9% of the total world population. So, okay. So at least those two numbers correlate. Again, if we go back to the U.S., if the U.S. was 20% of the world, therefore we had 20% of the cases, I would have less of an argument of whether we're doing things right or whether we're not. But then we go to the next statistic and we look at Brazil. Brazil holds the second place medal for coronavirus deaths. They come in at 12.5%. 12.5%. Their populace, though, only makes up 2.73% of the world population. So guess what? What's the correlation between Brazil, and the United States. I'm pretty sure we can guess it's a president who doesn't give two shits about the coronavirus. So what does this mean? With all of the issues and all of the things going on, why do I feel like I need to wax poetic about this? Right? I say it's because we have all these people who are now complaining on Facebook about the lockdown in Michigan. And I get it. It's bad. I don't want to be locked down either. I just went out and spent a lot of money on food to be able to sit in my house and not go to the bloody ass store, right? And we can sit here and talk about this, but when we have all these events that just happened this weekend, especially the two in Michigan, where people are protesting, and this is what burns my bottom, is we have these people protesting without fucking masks on. Wear your fucking mask, people, at minimum, right? And Trump has done nothing to help this, and the people in Michigan just want to see us impeach a governor over a few fucking restrictions. Come on, folks. I get it. It's easier to sit in your house, and it's easy to complain. It's easy to call to action. It's easier to fund the lawyers. It's easier to say, let's get rid of Whitmore because I don't like what she has to say. But are you really serious? What purpose do you think this is going to do? What do you want to do then? I would ask the question then, how can we stem the rising tide of death and sickness? If the numbers, which I just demonstrated, and again, links in the description, I've just demonstrated the numbers show we obviously are not doing what it takes to control it in the United States. So instead of sitting here trying to impeach Whitmer because you don't like it, the numbers dictate this is correct. What do you want to do? Why don't you stop complaining about the fucking show that she is trying to impose on us? And why don't you get off your ass and talk about how we can help stem the tides before a vaccine hits? And folks, we've got a show coming up in the next 2 weeks, maybe 3, depending on the holiday, where we talk with somebody that works on vaccines about this. She's going to explain to us how long all this takes, what it does for the community, how many people probably won't bother to join and actually have a conversation or take the vaccine, right? Because I'm here to tell you, as of July, we as a United States are on track to have over 204,000 extra deaths than we normally have. And that total doesn't even include the normal increase that we have as every year. So every year we increase the amount of deaths we have by a small percentage. That 204,000 doesn't even touch that. So we have more deaths coming at us because of this virus. So I get it. I get what your points are. I get the point of having a conversation, about, all these populaces and what's it going to do, to the world. And, how is it going to hurt my economy and all of that type of a thing. I get it. It's scary. And we can talk a little bit about that in the future episodes. But the big thing I have to say for now, honestly, is either you're selfish and you don't care about other people's lives and you just don't want to grasp compassion or empathy, or you've bought into this fake news conspiracy theory that continues to allow people to use the hard critical thinking skills that seem to elude those of you who don't want to believe the numbers, and you're just accepting this inevitable destruction path that the virus is willing to take us on.